So the question is, what caused that? What caused my adrenals to become totally shot? My hormones to be all out of whack? I mean, it could be many things. There's a lot of things. Usually it's stress. And now stress could be in the form of the last year of things being stressful with working full time. I had never been a full-time working mom with 2 kids in daycare full time. That was stressful. We've moved 7 times in the last 7 years. That's kind of stressful. I've never lived close to immediate family to have help with 2 babies. That's kind of stressful. Maybe it's an environmental thing. So maybe we've lived in houses with mold buildup, and maybe I have a mold buildup in my body, and that is an environmental toxin. That is a stressor on my body. So maybe there's an environmental toxin stressor on my body. I've looked into those options. So there's many different things that could be causing a stress, and everybody reacts to stress differently. Everybody handles stress differently. I always felt like I handled stress pretty well, but through my research, I found that I was in the when I took this test, I was in the burnout stage of the adrenal fatigue stages, where I'm totally shot. Things aren't working anymore because I lived in such a state of high stress for too long. Okay, so what do you do? What do I do? I'll share with you what I've done. There are many different things that you could do, and everything will be different for everyone. Right away, it was stress. Trying to manage stress better and trying to cut out areas of stress. So we hired a cleaning lady to come help. Miss Amy comes 3 times a week, 1 hour each time, so 3 hours a week, and she tidies up around the house. She comes after we leave. I don't even know what time she comes. She comes some point in the day when we're out of the house, and she tidies up. She maybe folds laundry, put dishes away. She'll vacuum, she'll sweep. She's only there for an hour, but it's just enough to get home. When I come home, things are clean. I'm not stressed about just trying to clean things up and worrying about that. I can actually just make dinner and have fun with the family. Some other things I did was I talked to my boss about my work balance, my workload. Some things had to change there. So I got some extra help, and we talked about some different ways that I could do my schedule. So I talked with them about some different ways I could manage my schedule, including working from home a little bit more, changing my hours so I can be with my girls, because working full-time is hard. And something had to change there because I love my job, but I also was having a hard time with it. So that had to change. I did some things like going to the sauna more regularly. Sauna helps with some detoxification, and it's also relaxing. And I also started cutting out coffee. I had tried to do it slowly, slowly, gradually, and that wasn't working for me because I kept just slowly slipping back up my amounts. So what I finally did one weekend when I was just maxed out, actually, I wasn't really maxed out, but I realized something really had to change. And so what I did was I went pretty cold turkey. I went from as much coffee as I was drinking down to, what did I do that first day? 2 cups of coffee a day, that's a big difference. I did it on a Saturday, and I took 2 naps that day. Sunday, I took 2 naps that day. Monday was really rough. That whole first week was incredibly difficult. And now, that was about 2 months ago, so now I'm down to like 2 cups of coffee a day, maybe 1.5. So things have gotten progressively better and easier with my coffee intake. I still miss it, but I do some tea and I do some other herbals, and so that's made a big difference. The other thing is sleep. So I've really prioritized sleep. I make a point to go to sleep at a decent hour. My husband helps me with the kiddo in the middle of the night. We made a point where sometimes, if it's been a week straight, she's always come to me to help her go to the bathroom. Then he tells her at night to come wake daddy up. Daddy will take you to the potty at night. Little things like that help me actually get a full night's sleep. And then I don't stress about waking up first thing in the morning to go work out. I don't do really many 5:30 classes anymore. I don't do workouts at crazy hours of the morning just to fit it in, just to work out. And I'm just not as stressed about my workouts in general either. So my workouts have really changed. I wouldn't say they've changed significantly because I had already gotten to a point where I wasn't doing crazy hard workouts. After my second baby, I was over it. I was over the high intensity, crazy stuff. I just didn't really want to do it anymore. So I had already gotten to the point where I realized too, for my gut health, how important more restorative workouts are, how sometimes those high intensity workouts are more damaging than they are beneficial. So I'd already gotten to a point where I had changed my workout styles around. So now what I do is I probably lift about, at first, when I first started like cutting out coffee that week, I don't think I worked out at all. But now I'm to the point where I can work out. Maybe I lift 3 times a week, different body parts, and then I maybe run once or twice a week by the beach where it's really fun and relaxing, and I usually do it with the girls in the stroller or with my husband. So it's more of just kind of like a fun, chill, maybe 2 or 3 mile jog. I'm not fast. I don't run very fast. And then maybe I do yoga once a week. I go for walks. That's kind of it. Maybe I'll do like a little bit of an interval workout, but that's kind of about it. I don't do anything else really crazy with my workouts, and my weight hasn't really changed, so I'm pretty happy about that. And then I did change my diet and add in some supplements. That's gonna be very different for what everybody is going to be doing. I saw with my labs some of the vitamins that I was deficient in, some B vitamins, some D. I also went to my doctor and asked him to take some additional testing. I did bring my Dutch test. He did not know what to do with it. He was kind of like, he laughed at me. He laughed. He was very rude. I should do a whole nother video on how rude my doctor was when I talked to him about my own health and how I was trying to be proactive about it. And okay, I'll do another one on that. Anyways, so I just told him some of my signs and symptoms, and I had a list of things that I wanted tested because I know there are things that your insurance will cover. Vitamin D levels, thyroid levels, iron levels, cholesterol, blood sugars. Like your doctor and your insurance should cover the basics. And I hadn't had a lot of that stuff done in a long time. And so I just came with the basics that I wanted tested, and I kind of had to fight him for it, which is very unfortunate. But I did, and so I got some of those results back too. So my D was a little low, my iron was good, but there were some other things that I also am concerned about, my thyroid being one of them. So kind of encompassing all that, I did change some things with my diet. I don't do intermittent fasting currently as I'm healing. So intermittent fasting is kind of out of the window, but I still do lower carb. I also haven't done a full fast or keto. Truly, since some of this that I've been experimenting with, I do lower carb, probably less than 100 grams of carb a day, probably within that range, or if not less, but not extremely low. And some other things I've been supplementing with, and then there's also an adrenal supplement and support that I started taking, and some other herbals to help with the adrenals, and that was through consulting with an expert. Supplements are going to be very individual for every single person, so before you just start buying stuff and taking stuff online targeted toward adrenal fatigue people or struggles, make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure you know what you're ordering. Talk to somebody who knows what they're doing. This is one of the ones I started doing was Adrenal. See if you can see it. Adrenal by Standard Process. I take that a few times a day. And some other herbals like licorice root and some other things like that, and some teas that I started doing. So it's kind of comprehensive. There's a lot of stuff. There's other factors too that go into my story versus your story. I'm also working on some gut health and gut healing. So just, some different probiotics I added in, some antimicrobials I added in, with help of an integrative and functional provider. Our bodies aren't just, there's not just one problem. Like, it's not just adrenal fatigue or HPA axis dysregulation or vitamin deficiency. We have to look at the whole person. And for me, I knew enough to know that stuff was just off. Stuff wasn't right. And it's a gradual process, and it's a process in stages. And it's something that is very individualized. And so I encourage you just to kind of get support on your own. I'll do a part 2 to go over more of my Dutch test, because that test is so fascinating. But if you have questions, just comment below, and thanks for checking this out.